requirements. Here we go, guys.
Good afternoon. No, I think this is the last session and you all are exhausted. So I would like to make it more interactive and interesting because topic is basic fundamentals. Will Colo be the single source for digital infrastructure in future? So we will have some kind of analysis and we will take inputs of audience also who are sitting here. We have Mr. Watter from Alfa Medical Group and he will have his own perspective. So
how much time will you do?
Before move to the topic, I would like to introduce myself. This is N.K. Singh from Data Center Guru. I have spent more than 2.5 decades in data center industry across different parts of the world, across all the data center layers, from building layer to application and services layer. So I have been fortunate enough, and the key mission of Data Center Guru is to overcome the challenges and bridge the gaps which data center industry is facing today, which is unaddressed. So if you see our service portfolio, more than 70% of the services are unique services which you normally don't find in the industry. Second, in the last session, we were talking about the skills around data center, and most of you know that we have a huge scarce of skilled resources around data center. So Data Center Guru is also working around plugging in that staffing gap where we don't provide only training, we run through the entire stages of the learning and provide skilled resources rather than just a kind of a training which is not so much useful. It may be a first step on the skill development. Before I move to the topic, I would like Mr. Watter to introduce himself and talk about briefly on his expertise and view.
Thank you, NK. Hello, everyone. I'm Ahmed. I'm the IT director of Alfa Medical Group from Egypt, one of the prestigious healthcare providers in Egypt. I have 17 years of experience when it comes to infrastructure and IT and operations. I know it's weird to be only two in a panel, so this will take a different kind of panel. You will be the panelists, and we will be your moderators. So we like you all to be engaged with us in these questions. So NK, let's begin asking ourselves as the audience.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Watter. So what we have, before we answer this question, it is very, very necessary to go somewhat back in the history in terms of how data center, or we call it digital infrastructure, has evolved from 90s to current stage today. And this has directly been proportional to adaptation of technology and dependency of technology on the business and our lifestyles. So when we talk about early 90s, it was more about technology was a support player to your business. And we used to have mainframes and a kind of a centralized kind of systems to support it. And when we come to around early 2000, and that's where distributed thing which came into the picture and data center was evolved. So before we know that what is this Colo and what is this on-premise, we must understand the digital infrastructure has multiple categories. And these categories are defined based on the applications. So when we talk about digital infrastructure, one is we are very familiar with the data center where we put our ICT stuffs and which makes or provide the conducive environment to IT equipment in running smoothly. Similarly, when we talk about telco, they have also a data center, they call it machine switching center. Now, telco has also evolved from your analog switching to the digital aspect of it. So now they are also a data center. Third, there are also R&D and institutions. They use labs, they call it labs. And there are multiple labs if you find in multiple IT organizations. There are a lot of institutions where they conduct high performance compute now. So why I am saying so? Because when you want to analyze on-premise or Colo or multi-tenant kind of a data center, so it becomes easier for you to see where we are and how you would like to go about it. So, and if you see the trends, now it is no more data centers or digital infrastructure are no more business critical. It is now mission critical, even life critical. Now, Mr. Watter is sitting here where we talked about the medical aspects, how it is supporting, the technology is supporting to him from that perspective. But the aspect is these technologies and these technology adaptations are changing very fast. And in the last session, if you observed, he was asked, what is your future forecast on how you want to see a data center? He said, beyond 3 years, I don't have. So obviously, when we talk about data center, then beyond 3 years you don't have, how would you like to adapt and how would you like to live with such kind of scenarios? So that's how we did, or we have observed certain studies in terms of the global trends when we talk about multi-tenant or co-location versus on-premise data center. And if we talk about before 2000, it was 100% on-premise. I am talking about global. There may be certain changes in the regional aspects of it, which we will take your inputs also and revalidate. However, when we reached around 2000, then it became 90-10. And if we talk about today, we are 50-50. If we consolidate all the data center what I talked about of type of data center and multi-tenant. So you can see how the data center adaptation has changed with the time for last 2 decades or more than 2 decades. So I would like to have a view of Mr. Watter where he has been using on-premise data center. And what is that key factor which has made him follow and take a decision on on-premise data center? And how does it help how any organization will decide or evaluate the different options, what options to actually look for or go for?
Thank you. First of all, it's a little bit different in Egypt from here from UAE. There is a lot of aspects that comes on the table when discussing how we are going to move our data centers. Are we going to be on-prem, hybrid solution, or being totally on cloud? My point of view of this, as we discussed before, small businesses or startup businesses are easy to go with cloud. Pay as you go, and you go to the cloud. You don't have to pay a big capital to go to the cloud or buy your hardware. For medium enterprises, as we are, that is, we are not going for a big scale when it comes to data center. We already made an investment. We already have our data center and already have the calibers that operates these data centers. For all medium enterprises in Egypt, already made this investment, so it's hard to go totally to the cloud or be a Colo when it comes to ROI or how much are we paying. But and for the large scales or companies that are providing solutions for end user applications that serves end users, They are growing exponentially, so they need to move to the data centers because they are growing as we go, and they need more hardware. So paying rent is more efficient than buying hardware. For us as healthcare, we are almost all our applications is locally based, and we are serving our branches and our radiology and labs and hospitals. So there is nothing yet to give to the end user as applications. So plus there is more restrictions when it comes to patients' data in Egypt and banking sector as well in Egypt. That they have to have their own data center on-prem. We can have some services that give us headache and infrastructure such as email, ERP, that we can host on cloud. But our core business applications or our end user services must be locally there. Plus, we already made this investment. So there is no need
Is there
to
any specific policy on data center adaptation,
yes,
co-location?
most of healthcare and banking sectors in Egypt have this policy that they cannot move the end user data to the cloud.
So you have what policy? The medical
For the medical
organization has to have their own premise?
it's not from the government. It's from us
It was
as
your
medical sector.
techno-commercial
Most of medical sectors, 90% of medical sectors in Egypt have their data on their own. They don't upload it to the cloud.
Okay. No, cloud is one. We are talking about co-location.
The concept for us there, it's the same. You are moving your infrastructure outside of your organization. So it's considered the same.
So from audience, I would like to know what is your view or adaptation of that thing in this part of the world? Anybody wants to say? And what are the key things which you, key parameters for evaluation which helps you evaluating and taking decision? Because there is no straightforward answer to this, whether I should go for Colo or on-premise and so forth. So it is a proper evaluation process which may vary based on the organization, like Mr. Watter is talking about.
Good evening. While regulatory restrictions are there in some countries, but for sure...
yeah, can you speak louder? Because
yeah, while regulatory restrictions are there in some countries like Egypt, as the gentleman mentioned, but it's very, very crucial for the organization to, because today, to be honest, data center business will be considered non-critical business for the organization to run. However, it's critical to use. So using it as a service, as a co-hosting model, or even in the cloud, it's more critical for the organization and more efficient for the organization, because it gives them the liberty to focus on innovation, focus on what matter exactly. But then if there are excellent players or there are big players in the market who provide premium support or premium services in terms of data center, and they are taking care of all the aspects from availability, security, physical security, and all these aspects, I think it is, and to be honest, even as per Gartner, I think by 25 or 2026, there will be more than 85% of the organization, especially large enterprises, will have their data center as a co-hosted data center. They will not own their data center. And according to my information, even currently, people who are owning their data center, the transformation or the transition period they are doing is they are giving it to like they are outsourcing the entire management of their data center, even if it's within their old building. So in summary, I'm seeing this business moving towards co-hosting. And as I said, because at the end of the day, technology departments within the organization and within the enterprises, they have more challenges to focus on. They have more responsibilities and more challenges and burden on their shoulders than managing the data center. This is my view. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of, I'll just give you example. I am from India. And in India also, we had a lot of this on-premise data center for in the SME segment and even the corporate segment. And when COVID struck, it was a nightmare for them to manage the data center at that scenario, because building is one aspect of it, because data center is no more you daytime you switch on and then switch off night and go back and start. It is a 24/7 seamlessly it has to work without any interruption. And it was a real challenge. I actually witnessed a lot of organizations shifting from on-premise to co-location data center during that time. And maybe that may be also the reason why there was around 5 to 7% shift of from 57 to 50% ratio on the 50-50 when we talk about Colo versus on-premise. So,
May I? Thank you for
obviously,
Sure.
But then one point which I need your help in terms of discussion and feedback.
Sorry, I cannot hear.
Yeah, one point which I need your feedback or your view. In the cases of that organization has their own data center and they already invested on these data centers, what will be the best approach in moving or transiting from or to co-hosted data center or a different model, with keeping in mind the cost impact and the ROI for whatever they already invested? So what will be the best approaches moving to co-hosted data centers with the less damage in terms of financial damage?
Okay, thank you for your input, first of all. As for moving to Colo, as mentioned in the aerial panel, that business is driving IT. We as IT leaders, we are the vehicles that enable the business. They are driving us. So it's our role to translate this to what they need to achieve these goals. Sadly, in Egypt, there is a lot of aspects that maybe it's not here when it comes to economy and regulations that shorten the supply of hardware. And there is a lot of regulations when it comes to data privacy. Yes, Egypt in this year made a lot of effort investing in infrastructure and moving to digitalizing everything in Egypt. There is an initiative to be totally digitalized in 2030, sorry. But for us, it's a matter of money. You have to do the study. We already have our data center, and we have the co-location data center. You have to measure upon your experience of technology. Are we expanding to that we will need new hardware in 3 to 5 years in front or not? Do we, for us as healthcare, we do not develop a lot of programs. We do not develop a lot of solutions. It's database and the same applications that handles the patient and everything. Maybe because there is still not digitalization between healthcare providers in Egypt, same as here. All is the same database. Maybe when this happens, we will need more database. Once this happens, it will be efficient to go to co-location, not having our own data center. That is what is going on in our organization for the time being.
So, anybody?
Yeah, just following on from that point around the question as to whether or not those enterprise or owner-operators make the decision to move to Colo. And we've seen this across various markets. It doesn't actually require a move to a new location. You know, a lot of the financial entities, particularly those banks that originally built tier 4 data centers and spent a lot of money on CapEx, and obviously the OpEx, and running those facilities is extremely expensive. We've seen a lot of the smaller Colo providers actually take a different approach and say to those entities, look, you don't actually have to move location. Yeah, just migrate into a more efficient use of the facility today, free up a bit of white space capacity, and then that gives us some capacity to go and sell elsewhere. The benefit of that is that the entity gets to retain that infrastructure and specification in the way the facility is operated as well. So it gives them that reassurance that field engineers aren't going to lose jobs. They could be retained by the new opco coming in. So I think you're going to start seeing that in markets like Egypt, where those entities have built their own facilities, and that's just the natural evolution of co-location, if you like.
Any further questions?
No. Let me move to the next. So, as I said, there is no straightforward, but when you talk about managing a data center or building a data center, gone are the days where you have a data center of 5 racks, 2 racks, 10 racks, and the criticality of the data center is very, very high. And it becomes sometime very difficult for organization to manage and live up to the expectations, whatever is required by the business. And when you talk about other side of the coin, which is co-location, so there we have got experts and professional to do their job itself. And we are in an era where there is a clear focus on outsourcing, and this is not something which is new, which is you focus on your business, your key strengths, and leave the supporting one to somebody who is expert to manage it. And that is the reason why you can see that change from 100% to 50% on the adaptation of on-prem and Colo, and which may further going to change the dynamics when we talk about the further adaptation of technology, when people were talking about AI and ML and other aspects where your compute demands are going to be very high at the edge points. Directly, we are talking about edge data centers. So obviously, if you give an example on the edge data center, if you see the factories, the warehouses, what the players are, the warehouses have got their own small data center there itself, okay? And factories automation layers are going beyond, and adaptation of IoT technologies become more and more. So factory is going to have the data center in their factory or outside. So obviously there are huge amount of digital transformation and technological adaptation is still on the way. I will not say we are in the middle of it, but we are in part of the digital transformation journey, which has come a long way, and we will be going still long way to cover it up as far as this particular journey is concerned. And that directly depends on how we are adapting those technologies, which is actually impacting our day-to-day life on that basis. So on edge data center, would you like to comment?
Well, I think the last panel covered everything about.
From your perspective, what I would like to say that you have got your multiple hospital across the country, Egypt.
Yes.
You will have multiple diagnostic centers. And when you talk about digitizing lot of stuff which is not today, where we are talking about using AI, I will not say replacing doctors, but doing lot of doctors' job by using AI, and or doing operation in operation theater where doctor is somewhere else. At the time, that's what where you need the technology, you need that level of compute and low latency to take care of it.
From our sector, no, I think edge technology won't work for us. Everything is centralized, and we already are working locally. Maybe for other solutions that provide end-user solutions, such as transportation, banking, it will be efficient. The latency will make a difference. But for our sector, having the on-prem centralized data center or Colo centralized data center is more than enough.
Okay, great. Any view on the edge adaptability, and how do you see in this part of the world? So if no, I would like to just comment on it and then summarize the entire discussion. So when we talk about edge, edge is going to be, it is not like earlier we had mainframe centralized, in between we became decentralized, again we became centralized through our main data centers. Now again we are going to have a distributed architecture where we'll have main data center, regional data center and edge data centers. So when we have 3 layers of data centers and even edge devices integrated with your different stuff, at that time, everything will not be outsourced because there would be something which would be part of your facility. So it would be on-prem. Similarly, there would be a common area which would be best way to manage regional data center, maybe Colo on-premise, and then centralized data center, maybe Colo, or maximum is going to be Colo, because when we talk about financial data, I have seen major, even banks are shifting to co-location data centers to not only meet their requirements on resiliency aspect, but also as a part of risk mitigation strategy in terms of how do we ensure in case of any scenarios, our services are live and ongoing. So future on the data center, as we said, we cannot predict. As of now, currently we are standing on 50-50. If we talk about the centralized data center, we may further reduce. When edge data center picks up, maybe there would be some kind of rebalancing. So that's what based on our experience, research, whatever we have done, that's what we are able to see. Anything you want to add?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen, for patience hearing in spite of the entire day having so exhausted.
Yes.
So have great evening, great time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Come forward, sir. Inviting Mr. N.K. Singh, and I'd like to take a picture with them as they are both here. Mr. Wattar is from Alfa Medical Group. Please, a nice round of applause for them as they give us that little panel discussion on future digital infrastructure requirements. We're coming up, ladies and gentlemen, to the part of our